Holy moly. It's Tuesday, January 31st. It's 3 p.m. Pacific Earth time. Larry is making gestures in the background like maybe he couldn't hear the audio on the way in. We'll find out in a minute. Thanks for joining us. I'm your engineer, Dantron. It's serious Star Trek. And now let's bring in your host, the man with no fear and the man with no heart. Here they are, Dr. Johnny Price, PhD, and Captain Fun himself, Larry Young. Hey, fellas.
Reporting for duty.
Hey, John. Hey, Dantron.
Were you guys able to hear that audio, or was that something else?
I was singing our theme song, so I wasn't really listening.
I couldn't
hear anyone.
Oh, you couldn't hear it.
I couldn't hear it, but you know, I can hear you. I can hear you guys now. So
didn't hear any sound in the opener. Again, audio problems, guys. I just finally got an audio arm, like a real thing, so you don't hear me clicking and you're going to hear my voice a little bit better. But now we're back to there's got to be an audio problem in every episode for me to conquer for next
damn tribbles.
That's the
tribbles in the system.
Dave Porter says, "Nice Monster Maroon, thanks, man." It's that that Kozermart thing. I love those guys.
Talk about that.
Looks like you spent. I'm going to guess you spent at least $43 on that, Larry.
I think it was just that exactly. There was shipping involved, but I don't. There
was definitely child labor exploitation involved. There's no way that got to be shores without that.
No one said that.
They are awesome. So if it's child labor, those are very talented and skilled children, and they should be proud.
They are. They make very good products.
These little slender fingers, they can, get the finest seams. It's great.
Dave says you have me looking at one. There's a weird thing here. I don't want to undo it because it'll just come apart, but there's no flap underneath the bit that goes around. Like, in the movies that you open this part and there's like a white thing under it and there's this part goes all the way down. This is just like a little strip of fabric that buttons right there. And the zipper on this side holds the weight. So if you're standing totally still, you can kind of see how it drapes in two pieces. It's because it is. It's really weird. But if you're standing still, it looks great.
This is the best looking Star Trek thing you've worn, I think, on the show. Yeah,
I'm glad you like it. Looks really great.
It's pretty ornate. I think that really helps sell it. And the chair works.
The whole Larry look is really popping right now.
It makes you look more serious, everything is like, icebergs.
Plus, you've got the Admiral beard where I have the whatever terrorist hillbilly beard.
Well, but the blue guys, that's a culture thing. We don't fear the giant beard in the future anymore. But I do. I look like a human Admiral. I'm very excited. I've been busted down to captain. That's all I had. It technically should be flag officer. Look, they even put this detail in.
Whoa, that's a lot of stuff on there.
I mean, come on, man. It's worth $43 just for this bit. It's a cotton band with gold fabric on it. Same as this thing. I mean, you could spend $20 each for those things on Etsy for your other uniform. And it's the whole fucking suit. Are you crazy?
And this is a disco. This is a disco uniform. Technically,
no. It's the new Kurtzman led Star Trek. It's their version of the Wrath of Khan thing. It only appeared in the season finale, and it's only like some kind of weird future time travel multiverse split, but it still looks great. And once again, I probably spend more on coffee in a week than I did on this shirt that I will wear 6 times a year. One of which will be San Diego, and one will just be walking around at the grocery store because I'm feeling Star Trek that day. But anyway,
you're going to turn some heads with that one, Captain.
Yeah, thank you.
No doubt about it.
It's good Halloween, answering the door at Halloween. It's like we were talking in the green room. Like, as long as people look at it and go, that's a great Star Trek shirt you got there, I'm fine.
That's it. Mission accomplished.
Kevin Kamarley might have some issues, but hey, there's Chris Sagasag. No blood stain. Exactly. That even my kid said that, who's only seen Wrath of Khan like 3 or 4 times. not like us. He's like, you can't do the blood stain. Anyway, John, I know Monster Maroons are your favorite uniform of all, aren't they?
Yeah, they're the best. I mean,
They
they're
just
the best
look
Star Trek
like you're fucking doing something in outer space.
It's it's what we always talk about. It's visual storytelling, right? The Monster Maroons tell you you're in Space Navy.
Right.
Exactly. It's the as much as I love Voyager, those are just work clothes that happen to be color coordinated. The TNG ones are formal, a little more formal. But the Monster Maroons are definitely the best. Definitely the best.
The most fashionable and the most fascist fashion. You know what I mean? It's like there's a nice little fascist streak in there.
Well, sure. I mean, someone's got to run the universe.
Yeah, I think it's more colonialism than fascism, right?
Yeah,
it's the manifest destiny thing.
Pax Federati, it's the piece of the Federation. Someone has to be Space Rome. Why not Earth?
That's honestly, that helped me put my finger on why I think Discovery uniforms are such an abortion. It's because there's a design flow of stuff, but the next generation ones look like, okay, they're the future version of those old scientists, right? They're just shirts and pants and boots.
Yes.
Let's go fucking do stuff.
Yes.
This is like, we're like Space Navy, right? It's going to be Tora any second, except the guys are going to have, Play-Doh on their foreheads.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
But also, was this not a dress uniform?
This is their duty uniforms.
So that's the problem, right? That's one of the big critiques of Monster Maroons is that they're too formal. Because they do, but what they're actually doing is these are the officer uniforms. And, in TOS, everybody is an officer, even though they're not. But in the movies, it's very much Napoleonic, like sailing ship Navy, where there's like 10 officers and 300 just guys. Right. So the just guys wear like a jumpsuit, like a tan jumpsuit that kind of looks like TNG, like a precursor to TNG. But the officers are the ones wearing this big, bulky, big monster maroon. It's pretty great.
And that there is why I say Master and Commander is the best Star Trek movie.
It's a great movie.
Because they look like, all you have to do is put like Russell Crowe in one of these things and it's Star Trek
done.
Guys, remember we talked about this? Who's the Star Trek fashion czar, and how like behind the scenes in the Federation, there has to be somebody in charge of making those decisions. And there was obviously a regime change, right? It was all casual, it was all V-necks,
all right,
sleeves.
Now I want to read that paperback. Like Tag and Banks, right? The guy, the stormtroopers on. We need a story in the Star Trek universe about the fucking the fashion guys.
Yeah, I want it to be a position that people
Star Trek
for.
Office of Heraldry.
They have their portfolios. They're doing Starfleet fashion shows with their sketchbooks and whatever. Like there has to be someone, unless we follow down this creative AI thing, and who knows, maybe the uniforms are AI generated in the Star Trek world. Maybe we're beyond such kind of pedestrian mundane decisions.
It's funny you say that because some of the nerd sites have started doing like clickbait articles like, here's Gal Gadot in a Star Trek uniform, but it's just like they just put Gal Gadot Star Trek into AI and just pick the best picture, so it's pretty funny. That's just a new.
That is the bottom of the barrel. Looks great.
No, but remember,
it really is.
Price. Remember what I said though? It's like the fucking AI scrapers are doing better uniforms than the.
Oh yeah, no, it looks way better than like
that one you posted of Gal Gadot. I was like, yes, please make that happen. With my shitty eyesight, I thought it was supposed to be Ashley Judd at first. And then I went, oh, Star Trek Larry has a Star Trek.
Well, because it's still like that AI thing, so it's still not quite there.
Yeah,
like the hand is like this, and like
I approve. I don't care if Gal Gadot AI has 15 fingers. That's just 5 more for my. Never mind.
Oh, guys, I didn't realize they're actually doing the same you know, it's called stable diffusion, the way they create the algorithm that creates that thing. They have a thing, stable diffusion. I didn't realize I could do this. They can take the visual waveform of music and do the same kind of denoising, renoising generation. And there is a whole wave of AI music coming along that's about to hit us. And I don't think it's putting any auteur like musicians out of work, any like jazz masters or whatever. But dude, whoever's writing like cutscene video game music and even some of the generative music that they use in video games now, especially where like the music changes as the action starts to change, all bets are off. Now it's going to be even harder to scrape a living out as a musician, I think, when this hits the mainstream.
I mean, saw the best. Makes sense. Definitely makes sense.
I saw the best AI thing I wanted to remember. I knew that I didn't have to remind myself because you would bring up AI at some point. But what I want to tell you, do you know Dan Johnson? He's an Apple engineer that he's in comics for a while. We were going to publish a thing of his called Moonshine that was basically They Live, except you just have to drink the damn whiskey, and it was They Live as a Western. It was great. He loves this Midjourney stuff and ChatGPT because he gets like granular. So the latest one, I actually should ask him if I could put this on Dork Court because it was brilliant. But he asked the ChatGPT to describe the plot of Blade Runner. And then as he refined it, he was like, okay, now take what you wrote and write it from the point that you're not securing your own identity anyway. And he just like, he made everything was like, okay, take that, but like emphasize the AI of it because that's the theme of the fucking movie, you twat. And it would answer him, and it got really good. So I was like, well, I guess it's like anything. If you know how to use the tool, you can come up with something spectacular.
I think
but if you don't, it's just like, tell me about Logan's Run or whatever.
Well,
and they're going to get that level of thing.
There's going to be even more of a dividing line coming now because Microsoft has announced they want, I believe they're going to start charging for this thing. How much would you pay a month? I have a figure written down right here. As I understand, this is what they've decided that it's going to charge, but I want to hear what you guys think. What would you pay?
What are they charging for?
Yeah, for what?
For what we're getting for free right now with ChatGPT per month. They're going to start.
Microsoft.
I have no use for it.
Again, I don't know, $100 a month.
$100 a month.
Think about what other things that you pay for and other services and other products and
it's
whatever.
Microsoft. They'll charge you a ton for fucking wiping your ass.
I'm kind of with John on this price point. I don't think it's a streaming quality thing where it's like, oh, $10 a month, I'll use that. I think it's going to be more like no, do you want to use Adobe Illustrator? Then you have to, then it's going to be you can use it on 5 devices for $200 a month.
Yeah.
I think that's what it's going to do because there's people like me that are like, I have no use for that whatsoever. And it actively kind of makes me feel bad every time I use it. Like there's too much of a divide right now. So it's going to be on the high side for the early adopters. And then once people get used to the idea, it's going to come down. But that might take a while.
Well, so they've announced that they're going to charge $42 a month.
That's fine. Whatever.
Which I think is, there's a lot of computing power required for it. And it's down frequently when it gets really busy right now because of how much,
I've heard that. I've heard it goes down quite a bit, actually.
And also, I keep asking it the same question, and it keeps giving me different, completely wrong answers with full confidence in the answer. Right? Like, I think I talked to you guys about this. I asked it, like, what is the connection between Steve Ditko and Watchmen? This is the one I keep asking it. And it's like, it started with, there is no connection. There's kind of some inspiration for Alan Moore really liked Steve Ditko, but there's no direct inspiration. And then the last time I asked it, it's like, it told me that Steve Ditko drew the first issue of Watchmen.
Yeah. That's like that quick thing I did that said, oh, I got an Eisner Award for Astronauts in Trouble.
I thought that was true, Larry.
No, I didn't.
That's too close to plausible.
But it's like it did get name checked in the 14th annual World's Best Science Fiction. So if it was looking for awards, Yeah, it won some awards, but not an Eisner, which is the best comic one, right? So just kind of like, well, nobody keeps track of comics, so I'll just throw that in there. Anyway, I don't know. I have no use for those things.
I actually think the actual utility of it, like once the novelty wears off, any utility that it has is offset by just how wrong it is. Like if the next version gets way better, then maybe. But like as its quality right now, no way would I might pay $6 or $8 a month or something like that, but no way would I pay that.
It's like anything, man.
Yeah, so we actually I was talking to a librarian at Starfleet Academy High School about this the other day, because they just uncovered their first AI written paper ring. Like not just one paper, but like a group of kids were using it. And they found, well, there's a few ways to find it. One of which is these kids aren't very sophisticated when it comes to, as you know, it's weird, as good as they are with technology, kids today don't actually know like the back end of technology. So they don't know there's certain things you need to do to change like who wrote the paper. And you go into, you know, Word and it'll tell you that the file didn't originate with you, that sort of thing. But also they figured it out because it was just complete gibberish. It was like well-crafted gibberish. Like if I tried to translate Aramaic, I don't speak Aramaic. So I would be like, oh yeah, and just like write Aramaic letters, you know, in put a period and be like, oh, there's my sentence. And like it was just that. It was the funniest thing. She showed me an example. And it really was. It was like, you know, this isn't the exact example, but it was like, you know, the War of 1812 was banana for the rest of Mars. You know, like it was just complete gibberish. Like it was funny.
That's what I found. It was definitely dubious. And what I know about how these things work, it really is. We should not be calling these AIs. It really is a large language model, and that's all it is. It has zero intelligence behind it, and these things are based on probability, and that's why it's like, what is the probability of if you have this word and then this word? It's like word, right?
It's more like when you're typing a text. And you know it predicts what word you're going to put.
That's the same algorithm that's doing that. But they fed it full of so much, they've stuffed it full, and it's a legitimate like achievement to do that and do it this fast and do it this well. Like it's fairly impressive in that regard. But I would only be using it for, and here's where it is handy, you know, writing like letters and notes and little like communiques between people, blog posts even. You can give it 3 tweets and tell it to write a New York Times article, and it will write a New York Times article like it with a little bit positive, an upbeat one, a downbeat one that you kind of can't tell the difference from. But if you ask it cold hard facts, if you fucking ask it about shit that matters like Steve Ditko and Watchmen, you expect to hear back about Night Owl and Blue Beetle, right? That's like should be in the answers, and
that's what I would expect.
And it has yet to even bring up Charlton Comics, Larry.
I know. I was, you know, but I'm glad to hear you bring up Blue Beetle. Not that I don't love talking about AI every time we get on here, but did you hear about James Gunn and what he announced?
Yes, perfect. Yes.
Like, holy crap. So we can't even start with Blue Beetle, although that's what reminded me of it.
No, you're right. That is a great story. The whole announcement of the DC rundown, like the next 10 pictures of DC, and as you could tell, Gunn really gets it.
John, you've been at Starfleet Academy all day, right? So do you even know what we're talking about?
I saw a headline, James Gunn did something or other, but I don't know.
So that fucking guy is a genius. I love him forever now because he gets on, James Gunn. He gets on and he goes, he doesn't say, oh, you know, DC's really been fucking up and they hired me to put it all back together like a normal Hollywood schmuck would do. He just gets on and he goes, okay, here's what you want to know. Shazam, he's always kind of been in it anyway. Aquaman 2, that's key. Flash is the whole thing to the rest of this. And then there's one more, I forget. I guess it's Blue Beetle, right? That he's part of the full thing that we're doing. But we're just so you guys know that there's still going to be a Pattinson Batman. There's still going to be the Joker French 2 thing, but there's going to be stuff that's clearly branded DC Elseworlds. Okay, and then he just sweeps that off under the rug. Like that's just like the minutes from last meeting, right?
Right.
And he's like, but now this is what we're doing. Like Superman Legacy, I'm writing that. Sorry about Henry Cavill, but this is he's a younger guy because we have to get him to meet Batman, who we're doing shows up in Brave and the Bold, which is Batman and Damian Wayne. And yeah, that's my kid's favorite because it's Batman and son. And it's so cool because he didn't say this, but you see it in his eyes. Everybody has an idea that Batman's this grim and gritty guy. And okay, he's Batman, but in this one, he's just a dad trying to model good behavior. Now imagine how cool that's going to be.
That's funny.
Because your kid's an assassin and Batman is like the good cop. That's going to fucking smoke. That's great. And then they meet, Batman and Superman eventually meet, but it's these two fresh young guys. And there's a couple more. Authority, where they have a gay Batman and a gay Superman. That's great.
Written by Warren Ellis with
that's going to be great.
That could be a breakout along lines of Guardians of the Galaxy, like a more obscure team that really goes big.
I love in this list. Like that's the one that you go, oh, that's the one that James Gunn gave the suits because they said The Boys is a good show and we should
totally
have something like that.
Oh, for sure.
All this other stuff is bananas. It's like, what's the Green Lantern show?
Yeah, okay, they're going to do a swamp thing.
Yeah, swamp. Well, wait, I'm kind of building a story.
Okay, yeah.
The Green Lanterns is like True Detective except with magic rings, and like that was James Gunn's genius, is that he just like high concepted everything. Like you got the idea, he could talk for an hour on each one of these, and he's just like, Paradise Lost is like the adventures of Paradise Island. It's like where Wonder Woman comes from. I don't even know what we're doing there. It's just going to be Games of Thrones. And like, fine. What's the next one, But my favorite was, I guess it was the Lanterns was my favorite.
Lanterns is great. No, Creature Commandos sounds.
Yeah, that looks great. But the only thing I got excited was he said that the animated voice guys were casting so they can play them in live action. Because I'm great. You're doing a Creature Commandos cartoon. I want to see that live action. Stop fucking around. We don't need the Waller thing, but I love his Swamp Thing pitch. Was like you can't.
Well, so Waller
though, it's Swamp Thing.
Waller is really just Peacemaker. It's like a spin-off from Peacemaker, pretty much. Like so, because they're not going to continue Peacemaker yet.
Yeah.
So that could be good. That could be good. You get to bring in Checkmate. You get to bring in that whole other side, that Shield. Sure. I would think you'd be way into that, Larry.
Nah, I don't. So Suicide Squad thing was after my time in college.
Yeah.
So what you guys are saying is that James Gunn is enjoying being head of a comic book superhero cinematic universe.
Yes. What I love is that
because that's what DC has been missing. No one has been enjoying DC.
But think about it. It's everybody. Everybody's been missing it. I'm like, finally, one of these giant IP farms that is genre stuff that everybody goes, oh, this is kid stuff. How hard can it be? They don't understand it. And you get Star Trek Discovery, right? And finally, they have somebody that's like, all right, Creature Commandos is a good idea. You know what I mean? Like,
I just think it's a good idea for them to draw from the well of those certain weird characters, because Peacemaker proved they could do stuff with that with the right team.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Like, to me, Superman is the key. And what I read, although it's not in this story, he's like, Superman needs to be the huge, like, 4 tentpole event. Like, it needs to be for everyone. It needs to move, and that's nailed it for the first time. That is the truth. It has to be one that kids and adults will both go like, and it's not going to be too weird. It's not going to be too kiddie. And it's not going to be too Zack Snyder. I said it.
I love how everybody hates Zack Snyder. There's not a fucking 100 versions of Superman.
I appreciate Zack Snyder as like a movie maker, but like
for sure
those movies are terrible.
But like it's jealousy from any comic guy who hates Zack Snyder like me, because it's like, dude, he got all the top cherry pick, the best of the best comic stuff from my youth and direct those into the ground. Some of them. Yeah, I don't know. Whatever
like
you want to say.
For the rest of us, you know? Kurtzman got to run all Star Trek, and what did he do? He fucking just
bingo.
bludgeoned it into the ground until it's an unrecognizable, you know, slab of hate.
Michael Bay Transformers effect.
Yeah.
If you will.
Yeah. Fucking Michael Bay.
Well, I'm excited. They definitely need to nail Superman, but they need to finally get Green Lantern right. And the fact that they're not doing it as a solo series, but they're going to introduce us to the concept and bring in Jon Stewart and stuff, I think is a great idea for TV.
Dude, True Detectives with Magic Rings starring Hal and John. Like, yes, my mother would have loved that show if she was still currently alive, which she's not.
And I didn't pick up on it at all, Larry, but of course the Authority is to get on the success of The Boys.
Yeah.
The difference being, though, that the Authority was much better than The Boys. The Boys is not that good of a comic, in my opinion.
Everybody loves the TV show, I'll tell you that.
Hey, there's good old John Suente. Thanks for the gun slate. Me too, man.
John is the guy who makes me want to just quit this job of trying to say I'm a comic book podcaster, because he's about to have Tom King on, and he's talked to Frank Miller, and he's talked to. Go check out Go check out his podcast, man. Support his Patreon too.
That's like being a junior varsity football quarterback and being mad at Tom Brady. It's like, you know, good old John, man. He's like.
I'm not mad.
He's a Hall of Famer.
He really is.
What are you gonna do?
He really is. I'm jealous, but I'm like, I'm happy just to know him. John, we got to bring John back in here too again sometime, Larry, when one of us is out.
We are 2.5 weeks away from the beginning of Star Trek Picard, in case you guys wanted to pivot to Star Trek.
Absolutely. I forgot about that. They dropped the trailer, right? And I haven't even watched it yet. I would not dare to show it either, but
no, definitely don't show it. We'll get knocked. But there's some interesting. There's a whole bunch of starships in it, which is good. They're ugly, which is bad. And then there's a lot of like lofty language. There's a lot of rapid shots to your TNG characters. And there's a lot of darkness, like literal, like dark screen. You know, it's hard to see things, which is the new thing in Hollywood, I guess, is making things so dark you literally can't see it. Like Solo, you literally can't watch Solo. Like you have to do your little TV knobs back in the old days. You know, be like, oh, I'm gonna make it lighter. You know, but you can't do that anymore because everyone has new TVs. Anyway, so but yeah, we got Star Trek Picard, and everyone says it's good, man. Everyone who's seen it, people who hate Star Trek, who hate new Star Trek, everyone says it's good.
Really?
So we'll see.
Yeah, I was just gonna say Zaki Hassan, who's one of the pop culture guys on the Quran, the San Francisco Chronicle, but he's a big comics guy.
They said in the Quran. I thought.
Quran, the San Francisco Chronicle. He saw the first 6, and he said it's great and that I will love.
There's only 10, you know?
I think, but they gave it to the pop culture reviewers.
Course correction, right? Like they listened to what people were saying.
I think they just went, come on.
Or super fan service.
Getting younger.
Here's the thing, right? That guy Terry Matalas, right? He's the new showrunner. And he is like a Trek guy. Like you can tell in his things, he's a Trek guy. There's 2 problems. One, he's also a huge asshole to fans.
I couldn't believe that this week, man.
2, how do you like even if season 3 is good, it's like saying, oh yeah, the zombie version of Frank Sinatra is good. Because I used to like Frank Sinatra, but then he died, and then Terry Matalas made a zombie version of Frank Sinatra, which kind of groans out some of your favorite songs. You know, I mean, I just don't know how they like, and that's not even that much of a metaphor because Picard is dead and literally is a zombie now. Like, I don't understand how they're going to write themselves out of this. They had the perfect opportunity in season 2 with Q. All you had to do is go, everything's back to normal, and they didn't do it. So I don't know. We'll see.
But I mean, maybe that was too early, you know, too soon before they decided to course correct, and that maybe there's something planned, and they're gonna, you know, do those things and try.
I hope so. I said, everybody says it's good. Like Robin Burnett hates, like this dude, like hates new Star Trek, hates Alex Kurtzman, and he's been saying it for months now about like, look, it's gonna be good. And I'm like, all right, I don't know how to tell you, Robin Burnett, but you know, I haven't seen it yet. He's apparently seen it like 5 times. I'm like, how the fuck do you?
If it's got that next gen energy to it, then they could do it. They could.
I don't know how it can, but again, you know, and my mind is as open as it's going to be.
I just can't. I want it to be good as usual, right?
Yeah.
I didn't like, you know, when they started telling me that, oh, we're gonna get Star Trek on its own channel in the future. I'm like, fuck yeah. Oh, well, it sucks. That doesn't make me happy. I want a Star Trek channel where there are 16 Star Trek shows every day, but I want them to be good Star Trek.
Right.
So, you know, there's nobody's going to be happier if they somehow have miraculously put it all back together. If they do, they have to just ignore the first 2 seasons.
Yeah. Well, we should. Speaking of ignoring, we should not ignore a $2 super chat for old Dantron here.
Agreed. Man, thank you, Brian. Larry and I reviewed Six Gun Gorilla, and that was a while ago. Unless you sent me a new copy or something, I haven't gotten much in the $1 Million Mailbox lately. But I remember yours. You sent me a full length graphic novel, high quality. Larry and I talked it to the moon, I think.
Yeah, I remember loving it. Just the title alone, right? I love that Hector comes in today. Why would you take the word of Robert Burnthead?
I'm not taking his word. I'm just saying, like, people who are well-known, well-established haters of, you know, new Star Trek are out there, and it's not just him. It's a whole bunch of different people. It's very weird.
I think you're missing the appreciation for the drive-by insult for no reason.
Yeah.
Because you're right. You know, if he likes it, that's awesome. We hope it's
Rick
good.
Austin in the house. We got Rick Austin in the house. He's just going to pretend that Picard is not a robot because it's so stupid that he is. That's correct. That's the correct thing to do. Rick
Correct.
Austin. That is correct.
Verified.
One thing, I have a real specific complaint because you know me, I'm a history guy. I love the timelines, right? But with each season, they keep jumping forward a couple years so that now the timeline is actually, it used to line up almost exactly with real time. So like Star Trek begins in 2364, 1987, right? And then if you like TNG, 1984, 1987, 2364. And then if you carried that on, it lined up almost perfectly with real time, so that by the time you got to I think it's 2397 and it's 2003 or something like that, right? So it's like the movie is released in the year it takes place in both universes, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Right? Okay. So, but now, and so this was my issue. This was my issue with I'm getting somewhere, trust me. This is my issue with season 1, because season 1 was supposed to take place, and it made perfect sense in time that it took place in 2399. But then they said it took place in 2397, and then they fucked up the time, right? So then they jumped forward a couple years into 2401, but it wasn't 2401 yet in our real time, and now it's going to be 2404, which is still screwed up, right? So I don't like that. I don't like that. It's all screwed up. The dates are all wrong. Dates are all wrong now, right? Because I was born in 2361, right? So I want to be able to track my life in Star Trek years. Okay, like I was in high school during the Dominion War. That's not my fault. I was just born too late. I didn't get a chance to serve. Okay, so
oh man,
anyway, that's where I'm going. That's where I'm going with this.
I think it's cool that they lined up with reality finally,
Yeah.
Because the one thing I pulled out of that latest trailer is that they finally let Jonathan Frakes look like, what he looks like now. They didn't shellac his hair and give him a nice toupee and, make him hold his breath. And, they kind of fucking just went, hey, yeah, this is what's going to happen. I'm almost, 69.
Sunday boys with the Ghostbusters.
Riker really needs to be 69 at all times.
Guys, do you think
that was a joke for my kid?
Do you think that they put, this is cynical Dantron conspiracy theory here, but
nice. I like it.
If you wanted to take somebody from the Star Trek universe and be like, we want to be able to use that character in perpetuity, you can make them a robot. Now you get to keep them you get Data and Picard as like a duo into eternity through special effects and what have you. I feel that's the only justification for turning Picard into a non-human.
I don't like it.
Yeah. Two things, Rick, you don't have to watch the rest of it. This is not gonna. That's what John is saying. They bumped it up a few years.
Yeah,
there's a time jump between season 2 and season 3. So whatever.
So spoiler, Rick Austin. It ends with everyone being happy again and rejoining Starfleet. So now we're gonna get to 2404 and season 3, and now 709 is back in Starfleet a few years, and now she's like XO on the Titan A, which is fucking stupid, but I'm not gonna go down that route. We got plenty of time to go down that route, But now she's XO.
Yeah. Let's wait for it to show up on the show before
XO on the Titan, and that kind of sets off the whole thing, as far as I understand it. I did see an interview, and again, I saw an interview with the guy who plays the captain of the Titan. That dude fucking loves Star Trek too, so I'm really happy about this. I'm really happy that they got good people. Looks like they're doing it. I don't know, man. I don't know. How do you get past the original sin of killing Picard? I don't know.
Can I just say that to John, the in-person Frakes looks great. I didn't mean to say he didn't. I just meant to say that as a old man myself, it's just really cool to see old men getting to be old men on Star Trek for a change, because usually they're all like, Patrick Stewart, look at, I spent the whole summer lifting weights, and
I think they should have put him in one of those Pike chairs where he just beeps at people.
Dude, I want one of those chairs.
That would be awesome. That's my dream. Anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
so I'm excited.
I might actually subscribe back to Paramount.
I didn't tell anyone to subscribe.
We're all Charlie
I just
Brown
said you gotta watch the show.
Kicking the football, man. We are always gonna think that Paramount's got our back, and they always pull the football. So, but if we get to kick the football, that's good. Yes, hooray! I can start writing Star Trek columns again and be happy about it. Instead of, if you had, I did 7 years. I reviewed every episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And so EJ Fennis said a cool thing about that. He's like, I didn't realize I was having him write a book in slow motion. But that's what it is, right? And so I'm like, well, now that there's Star Trek coming on, I got something to say about Star Trek. That'll be great. And I wrote about it until I don't even know when I gave up. It was Discovery, halfway through Discovery season 3. But I have no urge to write about Star Trek now, because I really was hoping for a big wheel for Christmas, and I got a fucking piece of cheese. Thanks. It's the same article every time.
Yeah, I reviewed every Discovery episode for 2 years. I reviewed the beginning of Strange New World. I just stopped. Who cares? It doesn't matter. They're just very apathetic. I want to know. I still want to know. I want to know their numbers, because they have no problem talking about how great that Western show is, 1887 or whatever it is.
Oh yeah,
they have no problem talking about numbers when it's good. So I'd love to know their numbers. I want that behind the scenes book ASAP. So yeah. Anyway, so that's about it.
I think any Star Wars show they know it's almost just like a buffer. It's never gonna. They know it's past the point where it's going to be a hot commodity, where it's going to bring tons of people. But they do know that it's automatically going to bring X. I think they found the floor for quality. Like they're like, we can put out this, like where the reception is so terrible, but yet people are writing episode by episode synopsis. They're sticking with it because there's just a fan base out there. Not that you can't be burned out or what have you, but I think it's just a mushy middle of Paramount Plus. They don't have much else.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting because like after I stopped doing reviews, Larry stopped doing reviews, a couple other people I know stopped doing reviews. You don't really see that much on the internet about Discovery season 3, season 4, coming up on season 5. You don't really see that much. You see the paid promotions, but that's about it. You know, the internal like Twitter traffic and stuff like that. It's so it was kind of almost like the haters kept it relevant. The more the people hated it so much that it actually like remains in the conversation. And once you stop hating, it just floats away.
The only thing worse than people talking shit is nobody saying anything.
That's right.
So, and there's too much competition right now for eyeballs and attention.
Oh yeah.
Dan, do you know that's a Oscar Wilde quote that you just said, or did you think you?
I don't know who it was. I know I heard it somewhere.
It's awesome.
The original. What are you talking about?
Oscar Wilde said the only thing worse than being talked about is not being talked about.
Absolutely.
And we have the same birthday, so I have lots of Oscar.
So funny. Did you guys ever use AOL Instant Messenger?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So back in my day, AOL Instant Messenger was all the thing, right? So in college, people would put up, you know, their profiles and their away messages, right? The away message was like an art form, right? It was like an art form, doing a proper away message, like putting song lyrics that were vague but not too vague, you know, getting it formatted correctly, right? And this girl I knew, that was always her away message. Was if nobody, you know, the only worst thing is nobody talking about you, whatever the quote is. That was always her away message. And it was funny because she was a dramatic bitch, whatever. Anyway, okay, moving forward.
Wait, that reminds me though about your little trip down memory lane that Walker's crushing that 90s show. And nice. I can't watch it with him because it takes place the year before Mimi and I got married. So like all the jokes about Sheryl Crow's not a real bird, man, when they're stoned. I'm like, dude, really? That you think that's funny? Like I'm horrified. Like that, but that's where we're at now. So
Larry, did you click that or did I?
Yeah, I hit that by accident. I'm really sorry.
Okay.
But
it's a good question though.
It is a good question. So
good question by Rick Austin. I wonder if they go by the Netflix completion rate.
Super producer Rick Austin says
if people watch more than 50% of the
Emmy award-winning super producer Rick Austin.
There's nothing I would love more than to get in to understand. Well, no, there's some things I would love more. Let me couch that. Let me be real. But I would love to understand the metrics that Netflix uses and the types of analytics. Because I just know just from what YouTube offers, which is pretty sophisticated. I mean, they can really drill in on, so many different factors, but right down to every second of time that people are pausing, stopping, rewinding, coming back to, ending the series. I think series, they want binge rate. As I understand it, they wanted bingeable shows. That was their whole thing. They were going for high binge factor, but that's a tough nut to crack.
That's the other thing that's because nobody uses the same metric, right? You hear a lot of like 70 million, minutes. Well, what the fuck does that mean, right? Is that one guy watching 700 million? So
I hope
and then
so.
Is it the whole thing? Like Rick says, is it more than half? And so that's what Paramount does. It just made me ignore them. They're like, most watched thing that ever came out on a Tuesday that had a lot of yellow in it.
Yes.
What?
Right. And then of course it would get picked up by like, all
right. AV Club has it as a headline.
Like, hey, Paramount is a successful movie. It's like, no, fuck off.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah, the way they slice and dice it, as much as we talk about Nielsen ratings, and I think Nielsen's still a thing even with streaming somehow, but it just seems like the whole random sampling thing. is just not where it's at. They want to know right down to the second, every second of every minute. And they can get that now. That they used to have those dial things that have people sit in focus groups and turn a dial up or down based on whether they like what they're seeing or not. Like they kind of have the equivalents.
When back in the 70s, our family got selected as a Nielsen family, and I took that stuff serious as a heart attack. But it was writing down in this little pamphlet what you were watching as you watched it. So that's all like the definition of self-selecting, right? Because like my dad didn't remember to write it down when he was checking out a baseball game for 10 minutes.
Right.
But I did. So like, what was that telling about our family, right? Like kind of nothing. And it's the same thing now, except the other way. You really can't keep track of every sample because you can sample 15 channels in 15 seconds. Like, nope, girl with boobs, nope, funny dog, nope. I mean, that's how my kid watches TV, right? And how do you keep track of that? I just,
I was gonna say, ironically, that's where for all the high tech advances and everything's faster with the digital video, we've lost the flipping the channels when it comes to streaming media. I always thought that it would be really cool if they could, like, if you could play 4 Netflix videos at the same time and be able to flip between them, or even split screen them or whatever.
That'd be great. I'd watch all 4 Star Trek and then just flip between them,
Yeah, but John says the streamers know their algorithms. They just aren't obligated to share because no advertisers on most. Yeah, because that's starting to change. I think now they're almost all gonna have. Oh no, not all of them, but Netflix certainly is introducing an ad-supported tier.
Yeah,
become more.
They have to. It's not so much that they're obligated because there's no advertisers. The people paying for it though are the streaming households themselves who want to know. Like that's just straight up marketing. Like I will watch Last of Us eventually because Rick just said I'm looking forward to it every Sunday, and I'm like, oh, there's a guy whose opinion I respect. I've known forever. He knows what I like. We share enough stuff. I saw enough people saying that Nick Offerman made them cry singing Linda Ronstadt. I got to get on this train, right? You can say that in an ad to people, and so it's more like house ads instead of actual outside advertisers. But that's where if that kind of thing works for hand selling, if you just go, even pick one thing, 700 million minutes visited, that's fucking great. Yay, everybody. And did we tell you Nick Offerman's in it? Look here's a picture of him in a wig. That, I don't know. They need to do something like that.
Well, honestly, you just kind of nailed it. Like Rick is talking about Last of Us. That's what I see most people talking about. A lot of people talking about right now. So more and more, that's the only way something's going to get my attention. There is just too much of it out there. And honestly, because we don't watch commercials anymore, you know what I mean?
There's no reinforcement of message at all.
Yeah, and or even exposure to many messages or shows. There's so many shows that I literally do not even know that they exist because how would I know? Except flipping through, every Netflix screen, and
that's a real issue. There's so much, like you literally you just find random stuff and you're like, oh wow, this wasn't bad. Like I don't know anyone in this. Like I don't know this exists. Like no idea.
You guys, about my old man TV guide thing I have, right? That's in September at school. Bought a bunch of those composition books for Walker, and I grabbed one. And I just, when friends of mine or things I run across on social media are like, "Hey, you really need to watch that Pale Blue Eye thing with Christian Bale," I'm like, "Yeah, you're right." Because if I don't fucking write that down, I will forget that in 10 minutes.
Yep.
And that I watched Amsterdam that he's also in, and I'm like, I don't really like Christian Bale. I don't respond to him at all. I think he's the worst Batman ever. And he's fucking bananas amazing in both of those movies I just watched. So obviously that's my response to his work in other projects, because it's not, I used to just think, oh, he sucks. Not like, oh, those choices he's making are not for me, because these two things are great, which I would have heard of neither of them if it wasn't for, so one of my buddies on Facebook talking about it. And then I mentioned it to my wife. She's like, "Yeah, who's that?" "Oh, I think it's Margot Robbie." "No, it's not. Let's go ahead." But it's because I wrote it down like 2 weeks before that. Oh, maybe we should go watch that.
Again,
like,
I'm
that's
hung
not
up.
right. You should be able to go, what should I watch tonight? And have your computer have a list of 10 things.
Yeah,
because
where's
what
the
else
AI
are we
for
doing?
that?
Anyway,
I'm hung up on Bale being the worst Batman, Larry. I started mentally rating the Batmans in my mind, and I can't put him sub Kilmer.
Here's my problem. He was the first Batman. I always had this thing that Batman has to be older than me, and he was the first actor that was younger than me, and I got offended by that. So it has nothing to do with Christian Bale. And if he's watching, I'm really sorry, Christian. You're an talented actor.
Pattinson must really piss you off.
That's just, that movie sucked so bad.
He's the first Batman who I feel like I could kick his ass. Like
really, exactly.
Slap him around like really easy.
Like Star Trek, or maybe I'm showing my biases, but Batman, you need to get the suit right. And his suit looks like what they were making fun of in the earlier Batmans, where it's like, oh, here's Batman's crew where everybody's wearing black hockey pads and laced up their things with their ninja throwing stars. And I'm like, yeah, that's Pattinson. Like you just designed a thing that makes fun of what Batman really should be.
Well, yeah, and does Batman just put on a suit of armor and start just punching dudes in the face, like the doorman in the face at the like that? I could not understand their take on Batman at all. Like,
well,
he wasn't a badass, really. I guess it's supposed to be implied he's a badass because he's Batman, but he just had armor and he didn't really do anything.
Did the Robin
worst Batman
one, did that already come out?
Yes.
Pattinson, I hate it. That to me is the lowest.
I thought that was still in production.
My
nice.
kid,
Rick Austin.
My kid loved that though. All they're doing, they just made it not for us. That's all.
Fair enough.
I see how Rick likes it though, because it's moody and atmospheric, right?
Remember that TV show Gotham? That was awful.
Well, as a movie, it was kind of cool though, because the plot and the Riddler mystery and stuff made it kind of cool. But it's just Batman himself was not very Batman.
The one thing I did like in that movie better than any other Batman movie was his relationship with the cops, where he would just come in and they'd be like, "Oh, this fucking guy again." Like, it was great.
The most unbelievable part of the movie. I hated that.
No, that's why I liked it, right? It's like finally somebody's doing something about how they would really react to Batman in the real world. Nobody would be afraid of him. No one would be. They'd be like, the guy with a fucking Batman suit. Really? What is up with Commissioner Gordon? He's got pictures of Gordon fucking a goat because there's no reason. And that's why Ed Brubaker writes Batman and not me. Because that's
producer Rick Austin's not getting very happy about this, guys. I don't know. He's not dealing well with the Pattinson hate.
Well,
it's
not exact hate, really.
Pattinson's
I hate him.
They got 2 more movies. They can squeeze 2 movies out of him, and then that'll be plenty of time for Gunn to get past this phase 1 thing. And he did their Superman legacy, and then mark my words, they'll do like a Batman legacy, and they'll bring a real Batman, a manly Batman.
No, it's gonna be the Batman from Brave and the Bold.
And whoever.
That's what they're. But all the guys. That's why they're casting younger guys now.
Yeah,
like you can't have them like finally meet up and they're 47 years old.
Right? You know what they should have done? You know what? Fucking Jesus Christ! You give them a Star Trek.
There's a price I've been missing.
You give them a Picard series, and what they actually do is kill off Picard and blah 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 blah. What they should have done is have fucking Picard and Q fighting. Right? Come have this like gigantic, momentous, right? And then who wakes up? James McAvoy wakes up.
Right.
And it's the year 2330 or whatever the fuck. Right? And John Delancey's kid is Q. Right?
Yeah.
And you got easy. You got another 10, 15 years out of those fuckers.
Green light. Let's
go. I would watch that shit. They would ruin everything about canon, but that's okay. You know
what? It's a different timeline. It's a Q thing.
Different time. Exactly.
You don't even have to explain it. Will you please take over Star Trek? That's a brilliant idea.
I would have done that shit right away.
That's all I'm saying. Selling toys or it's over.
John, you've got. I honestly, bringing in Robin of any kind brings in all the creepiest things about Batman.
No, that's why this one's genius, because it's his own son. So you get that father.
That makes it so much worse.
You get the father and son dynamic, man. You can't talk.
It really is intergenerational trauma being handed down from generation to generation. Batman is a child abuser.
No, this setup is brilliant. We understand everybody thinks Batman's this damaged, tortured soul, but his son's an assassin. Did we tell you? A fucking assassin. He's like 12 years old. He's a fucking straight up murderer. Batman is the good guy in this situation.
Yeah,
trying to be like, oh, come on, man. Let's come a little more towards the light.
I'm pretty sure Chris O'Donnell already did the fundamental Robin Batman relationship. Sorry. Val Kilmer.
I'll take Burt Ward. I'll take Burt Ward and
add in a little Alicia Silverstone for some get the boys involved. This is how you reboot Batman.
This is what
you just redo Batman and Robin from 1998.
Well, this is what I'm saying. Anybody who's like, there's no Batman is a serial child abuser. He takes orphans. He takes orphans and he takes them in his cave and he teaches them to fight. Then he dresses up in an all black suit and puts them in fucking trunks and a yellow cape.
They choose to fight. All right.
No, they don't, because they're minors. They don't have that choice. They should not have that agency to be out fighting Killer Croc and the Penguin. They're kids. He's an abuser.
Look, Chris O'Donnell made it very clear in that movie. All right. This is the only Batman movie I've seen in the last 20 years. He was from a family of circus freaks.
Yes.
And he was very good at tumbling around. Mm-hmm. Right. And so when Alfred left the door open by mistake one day, poor Alfred, he shoot on in there and he found the Batcave, and he made the decision as a grown adult to be Robin. That's how it works. This is America.
That's how a child should grieve his acrobat parents, for sure.
That's right. That's right. You grieve with vengeance.
Hey, we have we're witness to history. Look what Sagasag just said. I bet he's 100% right. That Cavill is going to be.
Oh, I hope not.
No. Look, just he's not. Just read what he wrote. That's fucking.
Yeah,
great.
I got it.
That makes all the sense in the world. Or if it's not John Kent, it's a legacy of the character in some manner that lets him be old. Fucking Kingdom Come Superman.
I tell you, that's my hope, Larry, is that James Gunn saw this show and he saw when I went on my intergenerational Superman rant that Superman should be placed in the Depression in the new DC universe.
Oh yeah.
I'm rolling those dice, Larry, that it's going to be a period piece, and then you and I can review it for sure.
I think that would be awesome.
I would love it. Honestly, that's what I want to see. I want to see.
I'm not sure that's the most commercial take in the world for a reboot of the character, but
it totally could. And that's what's interesting about it.
It'll work as a what I like out of his whole announcement was he was like, yes, we're still going to do weird off-brand shit. It's just DC Elseworlds.
Yeah.
So you could see that. Okay.
I want to see good
directors. 1939.
That's what it comes down to, the right director and the right script, I should say, too. It's that combination has not hit Superman since Donner in 1978.
You didn't follow that conversation we were having on Facebook today about just the where James Gunn came from, the Lloyd Kaufman trauma school of like those things are like 100% story driven, right? Mm-hmm. Like they don't spend a minute on the characters. This guy's a cop. That's the hot girl. There's a computer expert. That's all you need to know, because holy shit, this guy fell into some sewage and now he's the Toxic Avenger, right? And then they follow that. And that's why I think Gunn is perfect, because he understands that you don't have to spend a minute on telling us exactly why this hooker has a heart of gold. She's just a hooker with a heart of gold. And so he's not going to be. We're not going to see the pearls going in fucking Thomas Wayne getting shot. And Batman's a dad already. Like, this whole thing is brilliant. I love it.
Thanks, Rick Austin, for shitting all over me with this little gem.
Yeah,
all right. But what about Captain America? A little thing called Captain America, Rick. The first one was a throwback. What about the Rocketeer?
Yeah, what about the Rocketeer?
Mm-hmm.
What about
the 3 people who bought tickets to that are sitting on this podcast.
I know. All I'm saying is, with the right director, and you give me a fun Superman, you have him fighting robots in the 30s or the 40s, I'm in. I'm all in. Everybody's in.
Here's the thing. I love you, but that's not 4 quadrant, which you said before. This one has to be 4 quadrant.
I don't know what it is. I don't know how you do it. It's really going to be it's going to be lightning in a bottle. I think the right actor too.
Here's exactly how you do it. And John can answer this question. You guys, when you were kids, one of your grandparents took you to a movie, right? And you both loved it. You had a good time. It was awesome. That's, if you get grandparents and kids, the hipsters and the parents will fall in. That's how you do 4 quadrant. You have to do something that, okay, knights in shining armor is great, but you can't cut that head off. You're gonna lose grandma. You know, you just, there is a formula that you can hit it straight in the bullseye every time. You just have to know what you're doing, right? And people who are super creative, like, don't even think about that, because that's what they're trying to do. You're telling a story around the campfire to the rest of the village, right? So, but the bean counters are the guys who get all excited about 4 quadrant, because, and the creatives just have to talk their language. It's like, because they're doing that. They might not be as successful as they hope, but every creative talent storyteller is trying to hit everybody. That's just what you're doing. I don't know. I get kind of excited about that, because it doesn't seem like having the creative spark and understanding how the commerce works is that big of a trick. And people just can't do it for some reason.
Honestly, they just need to make a Superman that's fun to watch again. Because the last ones have not there's never been a moment where it's like, oh, I want to be that guy because it looks fun to be Superman. There was none of that in any of it. There's no wish.
Superman's not that character, though.
It's like Superman. Superman is such a heavy burden to bear. He's like Jesus on the cross. I'm going to be the first director to say Superman is like Jesus, and I'm going to put Christ imagery in him. Just give it a rest. Give us, like, let it be fun.
So, Dan, maybe this is a question for another time, but how do you reconcile, like, a pro Superman movie, a good Superman movie, a fun Superman movie? Superman represents 1950s America, 1930s America, even better.
Yes.
Right? He is the American way. He's this big, striking white guy, represents truth, justice, and the American way. And I'm not a scholar in Blue Man studies, but I think that would kind of buttress up against some of your philosophical thinkings.
No way. Put it back to the 30s.
Okay.
Depression era. He was raised in the Depression. He's coming out of the Depression.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of, like, corrupt businessmen around, a lot of corruption out there.
That's
World
true.
War II even can happen in the sequel, but Superman can't go to Europe because it's magically protected. That's why he never intervened in World War II and let all those Jews die. Little known fact about Superman. So
that's the only known fact that Mimi's side of the family knows about Superman.
He let all those.
They had to come up with a story for that.
Yeah,
where the fuck was Superman, comics boy?
Well,
like, look, he's vulnerable to magic. It's not my fault.
Nazis love the occult. What can I say?
Yeah, the Tom DeHaven, it's Superman, great 30s. It is the kind of the template for what I want. A less powerful Superman in the beginning when he's young, and you put it in the past, you put it in the 30s. And then other movies, you have Superman aging slowly up till present day and becoming the ultra powerful Superman that, like, just like the character got more powerful over the years because of his exposure to the sun.
Isn't that what they tried to do with Wonder Woman?
Yeah.
Like, have her slowly age, but in Wonder Woman time, it's like decades.
Yes.
Sorry, man. I accidentally hit that one too, but it's just Rick.
It's true, though. No one wants
I got to get my hand off my mouse.
Well,
I love that you think people look at Superman and go, "I want to be that character."
Superman is nothing if not ultimate wish fulfillment.
But that's the thing. It's Superman wants to be human. Like that's what's so cool about that. Everybody wants to be Superman, but Superman's like, no, you don't. I want you.
Just
want
like
to be
Data.
You want to be the
cool.
best American.
That is the cool dynamic about Superman.
Yeah.
He wants to be one of us, but like you got to have him do cool things. That's the bottom line. He's got to have a cool enemy. The villain. And honestly, they don't need another Superman origin story. That's what they need to avoid. Everybody knows Superman's origin story. You can completely gloss over that if you want to.
I'm sure he will, because he gets to tell it in the Supergirl project. She was raised on some chunk of Krypton, so I'm already excited to see that.
Maybe Kandor. Well, she wasn't raised on Kandor, but they got to bring in Kandor. That's the kind of thing they got to bring it back to Superman, the Silver Age goofiness, like Morrison brought back to All-Star Superman. To me, still the only Superman modern day thing since Man of Steel that had any lasting effect on me or audiences too.
You know that James Gunn is just going to straight up adapt All-Star Superman. Like there might be 6 panels, right? It's 6 quick scenes. You know,
the first page of All-Star, it's that first page. It's that first page, right?
Yeah.
They will do that
100%.
That will be that will be the origin of Superman, and that's all you need to know. It'd be so great. So looking forward.
But to your point, you don't need to know that. You just need to be reminded, and it only needs 6 quick things. Like, all right, truth, justice, and the American way. You know,
guys, I don't know. Are you hearing that red alert sound?
Now
I am not.
Now I am.
You are. Larry is. Oh my gosh, guys, that sound means that Dantron has to do a complete audio teardown of all the audio subsystems on the USS.
It's a level 5 diagnostic.
It's a level 5 diagnostic. Thank you, Larry. That takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, but I want to thank you guys for tuning in and checking this thing out. I'm going to be doing a little less comic booky. I got a couple more $1 million mailboxes lined up, Larry, over the next few weeks, but I'm going to try to do a little short subject YouTube videos again, kind of like the old school videos and stuff. I'm trying to mix it up a little bit in 2023. But I know where I'll be next week at 3 p.m. Pacific, Earth time. It's going to be, 3 p.m. Pacific Tuesday. But wait a minute, maybe I did forget where it's going to be. Where is it going to be again, Larry? I forgot.
On the internet.
This is Tobor. Tobor, the telasonic robot. Batteries not included. He's under your control. With a click from the telasonic commander, to circle. To proceed forward, to circle. Or to pick up the support module and return, all on your command. Tobor is robot spelled backwards. Tobor, the telasonic robot from Shopper.